Okay, I think okay, there go the timer. All right, y'all. I'm popping in real quick. Hopefully you don't see my son running around in the background. Yeah, I got a collar on today. Um, I don't know, man. Like this whole microphone thing make you have to wear a button up. It drives me crazy. I need to get one of them mics to where I could put it like on a stand or whatever. Um, because I'm not a fan of this whole uh this right here. Man, it's driving me crazy, man. I was doing a live last night and oh my gosh, like that thing was just bouncing all this mic was just bouncing all over the place. But yeah, I'm starting during the day today. Uh Today's been a weird day. And I realized today was weird because it's Juneteenth. It's Juneteenth, y'all. I did not know it was Juneteenth. Yeah, I'm not one of them people that's like, anti Juneteenth or anything. It's a new holiday. I know there's been boo boo, don't do that. There's been a lot of black people recognizing Juneteenth. Boo boo, boo boo, boo boo. Oh my son, he's wilding. Um, they've been recognizing it. I've been hearing about it, and it used to be because it was an approximate date. They were like it was somewhere in the teens that this event took place that we're celebrating or whatever. Um, and I guess the Biden administration just went ahead and narrowed it down to one day. So I guess I'll just do like a quick introduction on Juneteenth, um, what it's celebrating and everything. So yeah, I got this part. I got this part. Y'all, I'm still trying to get organized here. Still trying to get the hang of it. But okay, here we go. Mm, 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 mm. All right.
It's a
Let's love one another.
Black communities across the nation observing Juneteenth today, some already marking the celebration this past week with parades and lots of food and music.
To still come out here to be in the essence of the culture and stuff is just phenomenal.
To be communal, to celebrating the day.
It's like we celebrate 4th of July. Juneteenth is the same thing as that.
On June 19th, 1865, in the waning days of the Civil War, the last enslaved people learned soldiers reached Galveston, Texas, announcing the Emancipation Proclamation President Lincoln had signed 2.5 years before. In 2021, then President Biden made Juneteenth a federal holiday with Opal Lee by his side, the now decades working to make Juneteenth a national observance.
It is a community and a family type of holiday.
Harvard professor Annette Gordon-Reed wrote the book on Juneteenth.
How do you encourage people to celebrate the holiday?
To use it as a day for young people to think about their family history and maybe interview older members of their family and sort of keep the chain together.
With major American companies following the Trump administration's lead and rolling back diversity, equity, and inclusion, some Juneteenth events this year had to press on without big backers.
But this is a holiday that we can celebrate on our own, and we should continue whether or not.
The organizer of Atlanta's Juneteenth Parade and Music Festival says it's not a roadblock.
This event stands on freedom. Freedom won everywhere, all the time.
Now, even what we're seeing, there are still going to be these community picnics and art shows and today. And we've learned that tonight, Galveston, Texas will host former President Biden at its Juneteenth observance at a local church that played a key role over time in that city's slavery to freedom.
Yeah, so for me, June is like another slavery obsession day, really. And I'm not minimizing what the day represents for a lot of people. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I was kind of bitter a little bit. I woke up there were a lot of things I had scheduled for today, and they were all canceled. And it was like everything's gonna be moved to tomorrow. And I was like, this is ghetto, right? Like, I have never woken up and everything is like, oh yeah, it's gonna be behind one day. I'm like, what is going on? Well, yeah, uh, yeah. So like this whole Biden making an executive order, and then I don't even know if everybody's honoring it. Boo boo, don't do that. I don't even know if everybody's honoring it. I guess a lot of federal buildings are like closed, and that's just about it. But for the most part, yeah, that's basically what Juneteenth is and kind of what it represents. And then this one guy, he was like, "Oh yeah, it's like our own Fourth of July." Okay, like I know there are a lot of Black people that still don't know what Juneteenth really is. Um, and yeah, so in fact, I got a clip here. This one lady, she started this thing called a Walk for Freedom. I have to say this too. Black people, we are like, you know, in this day and age, Black people are like the freest we've ever been in this country. And it's just this whole walk for freedom for what? Yeah, from what? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I understand how deep rooted our ties are with slavery and things like that. But today, like, we can literally do whatever we want to do, right? But I'm just gonna pull this up real quick. I'm not the only Black person that's like, what? But I don't know. I'm thinking it's a good way to market and monetize for Black people. So yeah, that's what I'm taking it as. I mean, I respect the day, but then guess it's a nonprofit. I don't know.
About the delayed news, about people here in Texas not being notified. So as you see, people all ages, all races, it's just a big show of unity here in this community in Fort Worth to make sure that this message gets across. How are you? Sure. How do you come to this walk?
This is my first time.
This is your first time?
Yes.
Come on, we're gonna walk.
Oh, well,
What made you come out? Clearly your friends have been here.
Well, my friends have been here, and this is history. So I wanted to show support. So yeah. So I'm out here.
I see you got the wristband.
Yo, I gotta say, this one chick, she was like mean mugging. Like, he walked up and she was like, "Who was that?" Like, I'm glad she was gonna slap somebody.
And you got the shorts.
I do. I try. Yeah, yeah.
What kind of tell me your Juneteenth message. When did you find out about Juneteenth? Or
I'm from a small town in Arkansas, so I didn't really know about Juneteenth. So, and my daughter's born on Juneteenth, so
yeah, see, I'm not the only one. Like, it was just like, okay, I used to hear about it and stuff like that, but now that it's a federal holiday, I guess the way you could look at it to just kind of monetize on it. So I don't know. Like, it's just one of those days. I guess it's one of those days where you can celebrate being Black and talking about slavery. I guess. I mean, that's I might be missing it too. Hopefully, somebody educate me. But I just feel like every day is Juneteenth. Like, because every day Black people are like fighting for freedom and stuff like that. So that was that on there. I just wanted to show that like it's not like this huge, everybody knows what it is and people don't know what it is. Biden really has brought awareness to this day in a way that, deliveries are delayed and even sometimes, uh, places are closed. I don't even know if all the federal buildings are closed. But yeah, that's pretty much Juneteenth in a nutshell. Um, it's supposed to be like remembering the slaves that didn't know they were free. So yeah, everybody's pretty much on the bandwagon with this, and of course you're gonna get the Black church out there. I'm always a big fan of the Black church. Seems like these days the Black church is the closet. Look how clean this is. You get a bunch of different brands of Al Sharpton out there. I just feel like it's just another cash grab for Black folks, honestly. So let's just hear a little bit of what he has to say.
And put at the bottom of the slave ships and brought to the New World, we knew we were free. It was just a matter of time when everybody else would know the same thing. So I'm happy to be here to celebrate Juneteenth. But don't, wait a minute, don't applaud. No, don't applaud. But don't get it twisted. Hit me. Want to try that again? Do not get it twisted. Hit me. We celebrate Juneteenth, just as we celebrate Black History Month, and we keep reminding the United States of America that every month is Black History Month because American history is Black history. That's easy enough to understand. So it's good that annually we find the people who think that they are in charge, that have been free for the 500 years that we've been in this new world. But we also realize that we were shackled. Know that you can be shackled, you can be enslaved, but still be free.
Like we're just it's like another dose of February. It just feels like this is like another remember you were a slave day. Remember you were a slave. Remember you were a slave. You're black. You're black. You're black. It's like, and I just feel like when I hear people every month is Black History Month, and it's like this concept of like Black History Month. Like just imagine if any other ethnicity of people were out being like, uh, every month is Asian History Month or Mexican Month or White History Month. God forbid a white person comes out here and be like, yeah, remember your place. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those days where it's just kind of, I won't say it's kind of weird, um, and I mean, I haven't been to any. Actually, I did. You know what? Let me not lie. I did go to a Juneteenth, and it was a very uncomfortable event. Strangely enough, I thought that it would be like I won't say Black Day celebration, but it was like they had the choir, and the choir didn't like the old hymns or anything. Like they were singing like opera style music. Now, I do know classical music has African roots and things like that, but it was just like the event just felt like a cash grab, right? It was like an opportunity for Black people to wear African garb as well, to like wear African garb. Boo boo, come out of there, please. Thank you. And I don't know. Like it's one of those days. It's one of those days where it's like, well, what are we really doing here, right? And then like, of course, the random people that are just there and being like, oh my gosh, I want to talk about slavery. And it's like what? I'm really having a hard time understanding what the purpose of this holiday is and what it does for Black History Month in and of itself. In my opinion, it's a flop. It's like, what are we doing to progress the Black community? Like, how exactly does this do anything for us? Now, I don't know. I just don't know. I can't see how it's beneficial. But yeah, this guy, he's gonna talk about how we're all in chains and stuff like that, and attention to anything that they're talking about, then like you're the bad guy. But this is another thing that kind of frustrates me. Um, Guys like this get a spokesperson. Um, I hate that Black representation is so dusty. I really do hate that. Um, and we're always talking about non-issues, like talking about how we need to be free and we need equality and we need DEI, and yet we're still having issues that we can actually fix in our communities. Things within our own private lives we can fix. Um, but yeah, we have this instead.
July 4th is a very different meaning for many Black for the nation as a whole, because in 1776, when the Declaration of Independence was first signed, it didn't really apply to Black people. So when we talk about independence, or Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, these are days that we mark, for ourselves and acknowledge that our own history and our own participation in making that freedom possible is something that we need to claim, we need to acknowledge and celebrate.
And so, as folks are continuing on this holiday, I want to ask you, because there's always the question of how do you celebrate Juneteenth? Is there a right way in your eyes that folks should be acknowledging the holiday? Is there, or is this a moment of reflection as well as looking ahead to the future?
No, I don't think there is a right way. There's actually several different kinds of Juneteenth flags, and people do it differently. It began as a really small celebration in Texas, and as Black people moved across the country, they brought that holiday and that acknowledgement of Juneteenth with them. That other Black people, even though in the North, other parts of the country, kind of embraces our own as well. I mean, the freedom of last remnant of enslaved people in the South is significant. So today, I think the way that we celebrate it, or that's a really useful way to celebrate it, is to gather with friends and family and loved ones, and to share our culture and to really kind of talk and spend part of the day the history that we've tracked through this, and the acknowledgement and realization that we are not there yet. That the notion and idea of freedom with a capital F is still an aspiration, I think, in America for people of African descent. And actually, it's a much bigger conversation perhaps, but I think the challenging white supremacy as an ideology that both led to slavery or led to slavery as a racializing and certainly outlived slavery is still an ideology that we have to continue to confront, every day. But taking a moment on Juneteenth to pause, to gather with friends, to gather with family, to gather with loved ones, contributions that we've made is an important activity. And we should continue to deepen our own knowledge and understanding of the history that produced our present moment.
And so I have to ask,
I'm still figuring it out. And reasons why I started this channel is to, be more connected to people and especially like with the black community because I ain't gonna lie, man, I've been floating my whole life. But yeah, I for one get frustrated with our representation as black people. Um I I'll just go ahead and say this. I feel him as like poorly groomed. He's well spoken, but it's like the stuff that he's talking about. I still don't get it. I really don't know what we're doing. Like it just doesn't make sense. I don't know how we're helping anything. How we're bringing awareness to anything. I'm still missing it. Now I know plenty of race hustlers are doing their thing. And I'm gonna tell you like this too. Like there was a time when I was driving for Uber, and I was like, on Juneteenth, I am not. First of all, I refuse. I wouldn't say refuse. I would try not to do deliveries on Juneteenth. That was number one. That first and foremost, I would try not to drive for Uber because I already knew it was going to be a whole ratchet day. I already knew what kind of customers I was going to get, and I just wasn't going for it, right? Like, because I've already experienced it. I used to think, yeah, I'm going to go and work black businesses or whatever. But man, when I tell you, it was one of the most stressful days, from the businesses being unprofessional, being incredibly rude, and then that was one of the least received tips for that day. I know the stereotype for black people is that they don't tip. And I drove for Uber for Juneteenth one time. Well, the first time. The second time I did it, I was like, okay, I know, right? 2 years of Uber makes me sound like a loser. But the second time I did it, it was like, I'm going to drive for Juneteenth, but I'm just not going to do it at night because it did get really, really dangerous at night. So it just kind of feels like, does it seem like the crime rate shoots up in the black community every time there's a holiday? So I was like, okay, cool, whatever. The first time I did this, I thought things were sweet. I learned very early on that it's not safe, right? Dang, I thought you was in that room, boo boo. My son is running through the house. I got one last clip I want to share with you guys, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, I really think that this is a one of those nice pictures of what we're dealing with. Um, let me just say this. This is kind of uncomfortable, but I'll say it. I feel like this is a depiction of the black mating and dating. Black chicks are like, yeah, I want a man that makes X amount of dollars and he's got to have this, that, and the third. And they don't want no dusties, right? But I just feel like this is what it is. You got black chicks out here working in the sector and they're dressed professionally and yada, yada. And then you have like, this is what they have to pick from. Like, I know there are a lot of guys that get on black women and stuff like that. I get it, but at the same time, I'm like, just imagine if just this chick dated this guy for potential. And then usually what happens is, this chick stays around for potential and ends up having kids with turns out to be this guy. And then this chick is like, I don't even know. Maybe that's just a little silly side note of mine. But that's just, that's just what I see. I hate that like dude thinks it's like a representation of that. But I got one clip on here that I wanted to share with you guys. But yeah, it's this. I'm always at a loss for words when I'm talking about like black community and stuff. I'm always at a loss. Like anything left leaning, anything Democrat, anything black community is just weird to me. It just doesn't make any sense. So this is my last one on here, just to kind of get the census of here for this holiday. It doesn't make sense. And I'm sorry if this offends anybody. No, I'm not. It's my platform. I can say what I want. But this, I'll just press play.
What does Juneteenth Day commemorates the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States? We asked and its surrounding counties what they think. Here's what they said.
A lot of reflection. Reflect on the times when we couldn't go in stores.
How far African Americans have come.
Juneteenth is that we already have Black History Month, but to add Juneteenth on that as well is like liberation to everybody that's African American.
It means freedom for my daughter's child. And
You know what? Forget it. I'm gonna do it. I got time. Okay, Juneteenth shirt, cool. You know, don't say it. This dude looked like he behind on child support. Not okay. Everybody always talk about the creepy uncle. Don't like it. Like, I don't think it should ever be okay. This is not okay. I got a problem with this. This is what I think about when I think about Juneteenth. It's not kosher. Like, dude, put some clothes on. This guy, I'm not trying to roast everybody, but the boys in the hood shirt. Okay, let me tell you something. Growing up with like Black people who were productive and contributed positivity to society, you know, the doctors, the lawyers, the business class, the professionals, the husbands, the wives, the children who are going off to college and things like that. Being in the hood is not cool. Like I understand that there are people out here that's like, you know, that's just entertainment, that's just rap music. But that there's nothing cool about being in the ghetto. It's cool about getting shot, nothing like that. Now, here's the funny thing. Here's the irony. This thing about the Black community. Take somebody like Ice T. That's not Ice T. That's Ice Cube. This man has been for over 20 years, and he has his son, and he's pretty much, you know, handing his business over, like getting his son ready to carry on his tradition. Else. Ice Cube is somebody who makes sense to me, but what he has put out into the Black community, I know this is the things that he's seen growing up, but he grew up in a household with his father and his mother and things like that, and he's the exception, right? Um, but then the guy who's wearing a shirt, who only knows what this man has contributed to Black culture, which is that awful, awful movie Boys in the Hood. It's very sad. Um, you know, this is what he thinks when he thinks Black culture. Like, this goes back to a conversation I was having last time about the lack of family structure, and then the lack of community as a byproduct of family structure. Like, now you got random Black people that's just like, oh, you know, I'm so grateful that Biden gave me a holiday, and then, you know, I'm so grateful that, you know, the federal government is letting me acknowledge my culture that's manufactured by movies like Boys in the Hood. But that's just my spell on that. And yeah, I'm gonna pause it because it gets worse.
It's everything to me. It's cool that we already have Black History Month, but to add Juneteenth on that as well is like a liberation
I sense zest as well.
to everybody that's African American.
it means freedom for my daughter's child.
Okay, yes. I think it's interesting. Okay. I don't know what's going on with her shirt. The vibe is giving homeless, right? This is something that I always think about. Okay, I'm going to say it. You know, there's a lot of times when Black women, they see Black men dating white women, and we always have this question in our heads, and I'm gonna go ahead and ask it because it's on my platform. It's like, it's not so much as Black men dating white women that's weird. It's why the worst one you can find. No offense, but it's just mm, I'm not the okay. I'm not like Dr. Umar. I'm not anti mixed couples. I'm not. I feel like any man that's with a woman that's on his program and they can make it work, great. this is what I don't understand for the life of me. Why do black dudes, they will criticize a black woman for being overweight or being homeless or having face piercings or tattoos or being obese, all these different things. But when they get with a white woman, it's like none of those rules apply. Maybe there's something else. There's something culturally there, but I don't know. Like it's just because that's one thing I will say. Like even having dated, I've dated a white man before, and I'm not gonna get the one with the face tats. No, I was not gonna get the bro. Like I'm already stepping outside of my culture. Like if I'm outside, I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna turn some heads. Um, but yeah, that's just my. I just felt like this part of the clip was kind of weird for me.
She doesn't have to be judged because she's a mixed child.
I just feel like it's an opportunity. Like, hey, I like black people too. Like, it's like, what does Juneteenth have to do with you having a kid? I still don't get it. I still don't get it. Okay.
Juneteenth means to me liberation. It took 2 years for it to really become free, and I wanted our children to know more history. My husband and I, we sponsor Dr. Martin Luther King Luncheon, and we sponsor Juneteenth. So hopefully each year it gets better because
it's just a wonderful celebration of our history and just knowing that it's finally an official holiday, which should have been years. We can really share that with the youth and let them learn more about the history.
Like what? What does the? You know what? I'm not even gonna ask that question. I started to ask, what does the United States of America have to do for the black community to feel like it's done enough? Now, the thing that I will say is, and this is a controversial point too, reparations. It's a lot of black people that are not for reparations and things like that. I think that reparations are necessary. But I'm not one of those people that's like, this country owe me money type deal. I'm not like that. But just given the fact that so many other nations and so many other causes have had, billions, if not trillions of dollars paid into them, and the people, my people who've been brought here against their will for generations have worked for free, has not been given any compensation for it. I think that's outrageous. Um, Other than that, like, and again, I don't think that reparations will fix anything. But then at the same time, reparations is still a controversial issue because I don't think that it will fix anything. But I do think it will force this country to acknowledge that, of course, if you can acknowledge things happening to people overseas in foreign countries and things like that, things that had nothing to do with us, or we might have had a hand in something that's happened overseas, you can acknowledge the people that's been here for hundreds of years. That's my attitude. At the same time, the main people who are stumping the grounds for reparations, that crowd might even do a stream on that. That crowd, a lot of them don't even work. A lot of them don't even take care of their own communities, don't even take care of their own kids. So, like, I can understand how the conversation of reparations can kind of get distorted. Um, but I really look at things from a practical lens. But Juneteenth, though, for a lady to be like, we were supposed to be and had this, I'm like, my attitude towards that kind of mindset is nobody owes you anything, regardless of who you are, which I know that sounds contradictory for what I just said. But The government is not going to fix our community. A holiday is not going to bring awareness to anything. I'm sorry, but it just, in my opinion, I don't even think the month of February really does any justice other than saying, remember you were a slave. And today in June, Juneteenth, it's like, hey, remember slavery, and then it's like, I've even heard people say it, even in these clips, that Juneteenth is our 4th of July. And it's like, no, the 4th of July is the 4th of July. And yes, I know it meant something different for us during the time that it was in its heyday, or being celebrated in its early years. But still, that's the beauty of the United States of America. It is an evolving country. And I'm afraid that Black people, the majority, are not evolving. And I feel like holidays like Juneteenth is enabling us to still stay behind the curve. And it's just my opinion. And I would love to get some comments later on, maybe some people who might have some views of what I'm presenting here, because I am really curious and I really would like to connect to understand, how is this a good thing? I just see it as it's like a cash grab type deal. It's a way to monetize. Um, Maybe if I take it apart, June is supposed to be Pride Month. Oh man, Black gay people, man, they going crazy, right? Men's mental health awareness month, whatever. Nobody really cares about men's mental health, and it's quite the tongue tie. That's why it's difficult to market, right? Uh, Father's Day. I talked about that on one of my streams, and it got sticky. Um, because we all know that, even though the CDC has proven that, Black men are more active, are way more active than presented in mainstream media. Um, Basically, the family unit still is not there, right, in the Black community. Like 2 out of 10 Black children being born between a husband and wife. I just think that's a crying shame, because when there was slavery, segregation, and all these things, we had communities and we had family units, right? So that's that. So I understand how we have to have something to compensate for Father's Day, because there's nothing really to celebrate with, and then Black people, we're not warmed up to this gay thing. Like I'm starting to see that right now, the Black church is now the new coven for gay people. I'm starting to realize that, Black feminism is just a movement for Black LGBTQ. So bam, crack the code on that. I'm learning a lot from this channel too. And so cool, whatever. So you got Pride and everything. Um, I think it was Flag Day too, if I remember correctly. A lot of us don't even know about Flag Day. So, but I guess it gives it's a way. The only way I can see it is it's a way for the federal government to make money, and then especially, with it being a federal holiday, which means in observance of this holiday, major banks and stuff like that, anybody who's connected to government, they're going to be closed. And I don't know. For me, I was like, oh yeah, Black people are barely getting by, so we're just gonna give you a holiday to shut down everything, so you can't work, can't get those hours. I don't know. That's and I might be pessimistic. The way that I'm thinking about it, but I was just curious. I just when I realized today was Juneteenth, and usually I'm out with the kids and stuff like that. Oh, speaking of, let me just go ahead and say this before I get off of here. I live in a little redneck town. I would call it redneck by the standards that I grew up in. It's a lot of country folk right here, and they cool. They're good folks. Never had an issue. Well, not really. I was wondering why everybody was tripping over their own feet to say hey to me yesterday. It was crazy. And then some people ask me, "Hey, where do you live?" It's just got kind of weird. And I don't think it's any harm in it. I think there's just a cultural difference, right? Because I grew up in Charlotte, so usually when you see somebody, you just greet them like automatically. But here it's like they got to see you a few times, and then they try to figure out where you live. They try to figure out things about you, and if they can't figure it out, just organically on their own, then they just come out and just ask the question. Like, I've been trying to figure out where you stay. Can you tell me where you live? It's like, oh, that's weird. Well, anyway, it makes sense on why everybody was like looking at me. Like, it was because I see like a lot of like I got some wretched neighbors and they're doing their thing, and like there's cars like parked everywhere outside. They're having their Juneteenth celebration, and people have gotten on them about you know crowding and loud music all hours of the night, stuff like that. And I didn't get the memo. So like on one end, I had like black people here looking at me because they're like, "Well, she don't celebrate, you know. And then I had the white people looking at me like, "Oh yeah, you're one of them, right? Are you one of them?" That come to think of it, that's probably what they were trying to figure out, is that am I a part of the party house or whatever, or the party house is rather. And like, no, I'm just regular. I mean, I'm just a normal, regular person. I go out with the kids. You know, I do my little 2 mile walk or my little jog or whatever with the kids in the stroller or whatever, the wagon, and that's it. And when I caught on to this today, I was like, anybody on my page, when I figure it out, I'm gonna pass it on because I was trying to figure out what the deal was today. But at any rate, been on here for like almost 45 minutes, you guys. And it's not time for the kids. I think Junior might have gone to sleep because he's done running around. But know how I do. Oh, that's him. He's still playing. I catch you guys on the next live, and yeah, we'll figure out what to talk about next time.